Yeah, there we are. The difference in this year's challenge, and welcome to all of you who have just joined us. The difference is that we're creating an asset for you, and this is something that's really important. I don't really try to emphasise it too much. Although I notice, very clever girl that she is, Alison Reynolds. I hope that wasn't sounding condescending. Girl, lady, whatever the appropriate term is. Smart as is what Alison Reynolds is, because I was reading her blog and I noticed that she was doing the 24-hour challenge, but I noticed, and you should have her blog in your feed reader if you haven't. In fact, Master of the Links might be able to throw that. Is actually Shannon there? Is Shannon there today? Hopefully Master of the Links or somebody who wants to take his job, you can put up the link to Alison's blog. But she is pursuing what I think is a brilliant strategy, and you may or may not know I'm a bit partial to buying and selling websites. That would be what you classify as my day job, I suppose, outside of the 30-day challenge. And what Alison's doing very cleverly is building up everything with a view to be able to sell them. And this I'm so glad she picked up on that, because that is something that we very deliberately set out to do this year. We wanted you to build an asset, and you are building an asset. If you can get a blog which is targeted around a keyword and its associated phrases, and you start getting traffic to that, that is an asset that is worth selling. It really is, and you will actually be able to make money on it. And we wanted to do that deliberately. Now, the downside of doing your own blog and having it fresh on your own domain and all of those sorts of things is that it does take longer to rank, and people are seeing that you're not instantly jumping into number 10, although some people are. Some people have rocketed to number 1, which is fantastic, but that's a happy circumstance. I would expect you to take a nice climb up through the rankings over the course of the month for most of what we would see. What you might find happening is that the various Web 2.0 properties that we're showing you may actually jump over your blog in the short term. But it's all part of a strategy, and it's all part of a strategy to build you an asset so that you've got something at the end of the challenge. In fact, we're actually going to show you what to do, and I very rarely preview elements of the 30-day challenge because I just want you to focus on what you want to do. But even if you have a blog that fails, we're going to dedicate one day of the challenge to actually taking that failure blog and actually turning it into an asset and turning it into something that at least you can wrap up, it'll chug away, and you never know, it might earn $1 or $2. It'll pay for its domain fees, it'll do something, and we're going to show you how to do that as part of the challenge as well, which is fantastic. Okay, so there's that. Very good, Donald. I'll come to you with that's a great question, and I'll bring you in to talk about that. That'll be a beauty. What I also wanted to talk to you about is that I confirmed Dan won't be able to join us on Skype. I'll paraphrase: he has bad bandwidth. He used a more colourful phrase, but. I will be hitting the road, and I'll be bringing the last half of the challenge to you from all over the joint. I'll be in Los Angeles next Wednesday, and I'm hoping to do is Richard Merritt is based in Los Angeles, and we met at this very cool diner. I think it's in Manhattan Beach. Could be wrong with that. Could be very wrong with that. But I'm pretty sure it's Manhattan Beach. So I'm hoping basically to get off the plane and run straight into a breakfast 30-day challenge get-together in Los Angeles. And hopefully Richard Merritt can... I'll coordinate with Richard, and we'll work that out. So that's on Wednesday. Also catching up with Neil Strauss, which I'm very excited to be doing later that day. Then on Thursday, I'm flying to Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm going to be there for the Stompernet conference, and I hope to catch up with a bunch of 30-day challenges there. Even if you're not coming to the actual conference, we'll definitely have a meet-up in Atlanta, And I know the Stompernet boys are more than happy for me to do that, so that'll be very exciting. And then I'm really looking forward to, it's a pretty busy week, but we'll do it, is I'm actually in New York from that following Sunday night. So Monday through about Thursday I will be in New York, so we will definitely have a New York Manhattan meetup then as well. And then I'll be flying direct, which is very exciting, to Manchester. And we will definitely have a... I'm sorry, Gab. I'm sorry. Look, Gab, check it out. Woohoo! I'll be not going to Chicago, I'm afraid. And sorry, Michelle Trent. I don't know why I thought you were in Los Angeles, but you're in Chicago. Foolish me. I'm sure I read somewhere. But anyway, we'll be going to New York and then Manchester. And we'll definitely, the Manchester mob, I haven't told them this yet, but they will be hosting a meetup. And then finally, I hope to get down to London on Sunday and catch up with people for the end of the challenge, because that Sunday will be the actual end. It'll be the 31st. And we'll finish off in London. So that's the schedule. You'll need to stay tuned to Twitter and to the whole 30-day challenge blog to catch up. So we'll let you know. All those. Dan's very excited. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to Dan taking me around in his pink thong car. So that'll be very exciting. Very exciting indeed. Now, the only other thing that I wanted to specifically talk about in today's show I'll keep it nice and short today, and we'll take some time with the question and answers, is that I wanted to talk to you a bit about Twitter, and just how important it's been in the 30-day challenge and how extraordinarily useful I have found it. I wouldn't be able to manage this, teaching this many people without Twitter. I mean, it has been nothing short of amazing. And for a long time, I have been in, it's not conflict, I suppose, it's just a debate, if you will, with about how to use Twitter and the way I perceive using Twitter as opposed to a lot of other people perceive Twitter. And it's actually come full circle, and I think it's worth pointing out because there are a lot of people who listen to the broadcast who are using Twitter for the first time, and I really want them to think about using it the right way, and in particular as we go forward in the challenge, when we start using Twitter to communicate with your marketplace, to understand how it works properly. And in particular, I'm talking about the follow you, follow me phenomenon. Now, it may have been an awesome Genesis song, but as a philosophy inside of Twitter, it sucks and it's stupid. And in fact, I never thought it was the right way to do things, but in the last couple of days, Twitter have actually made changes which I fully and 100% endorse, which will actually limit the number of people that you can actually follow, and to 2,000. As many people can follow you as in, or follow me, for example. I don't know how many follow me, but that's fine, that's not limited, nor should it be, because if you're interested enough to follow what somebody has to say via Twitter, then that's brilliant. Their content is keeping you subscribed to them, and if they start tweeting on stuff you don't like or you're not interested in, hit the button and off you go. That's fine. What I have a massive problem, and I know I'm in conflict with other internet marketers on this, is this whole basic philosophy which people are trying to seep in, which is the follow you, follow me principle. So if you follow, if I follow you, you follow me. Which is, it's insane. It's not the... rather than say it's insane, which is a very poor form of argument, I grant you, let me lay out my case. The first part of the case is that if you follow, now you're limited to approximately 2,000 people, depending on formulas and how many people follow you and a whole bunch of things. And I think it's a brilliant thing. And the reasons I think it's brilliant is this. If I followed everybody who followed me, Twitter would become completely unusable. Let's do some math. Even if it's 2,000 people, hang on, where's my trusty calculator? If every one of those people just did one tweet a day, and I looked at that tweet for 2 seconds, that's 4,000 seconds, which is divide by 60 equals, that's 60. So I would have to spend an hour of my day just looking, and that's assuming people just do one tweet. How many people just do one tweet a day? That's an hour. I've spoken to John about this, and he realises the error of his ways. It's and in fact, he said, how can I respond to people's direct messages? And you can't. If you have that many people, you just can't do it. And this is the tragedy, I think, of following this particular principle, particularly as you go forward and you use Twitter as a communication vehicle inside your marketplaces. Because it just becomes, the first point is it becomes unusable. And more importantly, if I did, my goodness, I only follow a very small amount of people, and they're mainly team members or people that entertain me greatly or something. It's not an insult that I don't follow any individual person. It's just the thing. I have to look at the things that I'm interested in, just as you should look at the things that you are interested in and the types of information you want delivered. But claiming that it's all part of the conversation is crazy, because Twitter is a delivery mechanism. The content is what you deliver inside of Twitter. The content is what you are twittering about. But Twitter itself is a distribution mechanism. One of the smartest and cleverest, and by accident, best communication methods that have ever been developed for marketers. There's no question. But you can't use it properly if you follow everybody else. Because if I turn on Twitter and I'm following 2,000 people and I use it on my iPhone, oh, God bless Twitter on the iPhone. Where is my iPhone? Where's my iPhone? I got my iPhone. I wouldn't be able to use it. I turn on Twitterrific and boom, 4,000 updates from 2,000. That's if people only use Twitter twice a day. I couldn't use it. I couldn't follow everything that was going on. Whereas just by having that, and that allows people to use the @ functionality in Twitter to be able to send me a message, and I read every single one, and I'm pretty sure if it required a response, I'm pretty sure I can say up to today in the challenge, I've responded to every single @ to me that requires. And here's the cool thing, I respond that back via a direct message 9 times out of 10. Because here's my other thing, if you use Twitter to have a conversation with people, I think that's the height of rudeness. I think there's nothing. Imagine, let's take this out of the internet and let's put it into a room. Imagine, how do you feel if, the classic two people having a conversation, and you're standing here and you want to try to say, hey guys, I want to add to this conversation, but they're just talking away. That's the psychology of people who are chatting, using Twitter as a chat mechanism. Now, there is a proviso for this, and if you're not using Twitter at all for marketing and you just have a small group of friends that you want to communicate with, go for it. Enjoy. Knock yourselves out. I'm only talking about this from a marketing perspective and communicating to a large group of people, because if you treat it right, Twitter is the greatest invention to market. And I've said this, and other people are coming around, I've been saying for a long time, it is the greatest tool to internet marketing since email. There is no question. And in some ways it's far superior to email. Far superior to email. Now, here's the thing. If you use it that way, if you get an @ if somebody asks you an @ question, and you know what I mean by an @ it's when in fact, let me see if I can bring it up for you. So if you see, here we go, and we've got the Twitter stream just for thrills as well. If you use that @ if you type @EdDale into Twitter with a message, I will get it. I will get it. I will get it with more certainty than I get email. Okay? Which is just absolutely brilliant. So that's that @ So if you type that phrase right there into Twitter, I will get it, which is so important, because usually people are so respectful of people's time, and I really appreciate it. And Gary Halbert found this. When Gary Halbert used to publish his home phone number on his blog, always did. People thought that was insane, but in truth, people are very respectful. You get a 0.0001% of moron factor, but it's so it's so he never got his phone, never got crank called or any of those sorts of things. And I think because I am not following everybody, because I only have 50 or 60 people that I am following, it leaves space for people who actually truly want to have a conversation with me. It gives them a hotline direct to me, which I really value. Because here's the other thing. If you're following 2,000 people, and particularly from a marketing perspective, and you're doing those people a disservice, because they're expecting a follow relationship, which you're just not going to be able to honour, because you're not going to be able to follow it. You're just not. And I think it's almost like, what's that? It's the Bible parable of the son that says, what happens. I'm a bit rusty, but first son, farmer asks what is that story? But basically, the two sons, and the one farmer asks him to do something, and the first one says no. Then the second one says yes, I'll do it, but then ends up not doing it. And the one that says no eventually comes back and says yes, I'll do it. And which one was far better? Do you remember that one? Thanks, Gabby. Beautiful. The prodigal son. It's a bit like the prodigal son theory in Twitter, because if you follow everybody who follows me, you're sort of creating an implicit contract that you will follow them. And you will follow them, because here's the thing: everybody that I follow, I truly follow. Like, I really follow. I read what they say. I'm interested and fascinated in what they do. I truly follow them. I have that implicit contract with people. If you're following 2,000 people, it's a fault. It's the prodigal son. It's like saying, yes, I'll follow you, but you're not really. Not in truth. Because the other thing that you can do, that if you use the tools correctly, is you can set up Some Eyes, which is now search.twitter.com. Somebody can pop the link up there, and you can put in a whole bunch of keywords that you need to follow, like I do. All my ego searches. Anytime somebody mentions Ed Dale, I know about it. Anytime somebody mentions 30-Day Challenge, I know about it. Any time somebody mentions gaffer tape and hamsters, I know about it. So it's very important for me to be on top of those sorts of subjects, and I can use those tools to keep track of the things I'm interested. Of course, you should be doing this in your niche. I hope you've got an RSS feed in search.twitter.com for things like, if I was doing it, and I do it, vintage electric guitar. I even saw Frank Kern in his videos point out that you could use that function to see what people are talking about. So it's all these factors come to the point where it just makes me. I get a little bit cross, because people get on their high horse and say, well, you're being rude or you're being insensitive. No, I'd say I'm actually being completely opposite, because I'm being upfront, and in fact, I'm actually being able to. I can listen far better to the people who really need me to listen to them by using just @EdDale and respond, which is brilliant. Now, one of the reasons I love Twitter and the response mechanism is it forces people to get into 140 characters, which is brilliant, because most things can be communicated in 140 characters. And I can respond, and see, I'm famous. The team who on the line will absolutely, and I really sometimes hate doing it. People will send me, War and Peace on email, and my response will be, that rocks, or awesome, or excelente, or no, don't like it. Whereas if I'm responding like that inside of Twitter, it doesn't feel that sort of, there's not that ratio of weight to response, and I think that's a really important thing. So I just wanted to do that little Twitter rant, and the reason I wanted to do that rant on Twitter is because it's so important, and I hate people to get off on the wrong foot on what is such a crucial communications tool. I can't tell you how crucial it is, and it's become crucial because of the mobile phone. You know, if you have an iPhone, I have people asking me, how do you ever sleep? And it's not that I do sleep, and I try to I haven't been getting I'd love to get 8 hours of beauty sleep. You know, this type of manhunkness doesn't come with lack of sleep. You know, you really do need your beauty sleep. But the reason I'm able to respond and appear to be all over the place at all the times is my iPhone. Because any time that I really need to know something that's happening, like for example, when the hub page got taken down for having too many links, naughty Caro. They changed their rules. We didn't know that. It's not Caro's fault. But when that happened, I was all over it because people let me know. Who's stroking their ego every chance I get? I try to. So spank you. But that Twitter is so important that I really want all of you guys to get off on the right foot with it. You know, and don't feel obliged. You're not being rude if you don't follow everybody who follows you. It's not rude. If you want to do that, use Skype, use chat, use instant message. That's what that's all about. Because I just think the broadcasting of one-sided conversations to, if you're a marketer, okay, let me just really make this, there are two types of Twitter user. There's your civilian who's using it to just communicate with friends. What you do there, I don't care. Go for your life. Do whatever, talk about whatever you want, do whatever you want. No problemo. Not a problem. I'm talking about people who are marketers, who are communicating to an audience and want to do that. Because I think there's nothing worse than if you go to somebody's Twitter page and you have a look at my Twitter page. If you read my Twitter page, if you go to twitter.com/Ed_Dale, you get a coherent reading experience, even with all the ats and everybody that's in there, because I'm so cognizant of the fact that every time that I communicate using Twitter, a lot of people are seeing it. So I often fill in people's sentences, like I'll restate the question just in case somebody else is reading it, so they don't feel like they're lost. Because one of the most crucial psychological things about Twitter is that it allows for over-the-shoulder marketing. Right, and I first read another very smart, in fact you know him and love him as the voice of Market Samurai, Brent Hodgson, who has a brilliant blog, if you don't have that. Brent has a great blog, and he talked about this whole concept of over-the-shoulder marketing. And Twitter, when used correctly, is beautiful. It's not this face-to-face confrontational thing. You really do feel like you're over somebody's shoulder. And this is really, really... this was part of what makes it so powerful psychologically. But there's nothing worse than if you're observing the disconnect, the mental disconnect, what it does to your brain. It causes the brain the greatest offense to only be... Not only are you not included in a conversation, but you're only hearing one side of that conversation. There is nothing the brain does that causes the brain more anxiety than when it's not only being left out of a conversation, but it's only hearing one side of the conversation. It's a big... I see Dan has to crank off, so best of luck, mate, and hopefully the news is doing... the internet is getting back to you correctly. All right. Now, let's have a look. So, yeah, look, rant on Twitter over. Does that make sense, people? I'm just going to get a bit of feedback from the chat here. Does what I say make sense? Very good. No, well, actually, it's interesting. Ed Shaz just mentioned me and says I can't be that bad. No, Ed, you use it. I think you're the poster child for Twitter usage, because not only have you used Twitter to be like an early morning system for people, which I think is brilliant, is that you've developed your following with no. The reason you've developed your following is because you have constantly interesting information. And you act as a conduit between different people. You're a networker, and Twitter is the most powerful networking tool ever made. Literally, ever made. Because of its capacity to attract attention of people that you need to attract attention with. And it's such a cool part of that whole functionality. So make no mistake, Ed. I think you're the poster child for using Twitter and how it works. So very good. Now, Homer Knows asks here, for example, give me an example of Twitter for marketing. How do I get followers? Wrong question. That's always it's a good question, but it's the wrong question. It's the wrong way to think about it. The only thing you should be thinking about Twitter is, how can I develop compelling, interesting content in 140 characters? And the easiest way... thank you. Pete Williams in the house. There we are. He's put up the link to there, which is brilliant. What content and how can I be a... Remember we talked about and they're all blending together now. In the lesson where I was talking about using your feed reader to create articles, remember how I was talking about becoming a newsmaster in your particular niche? You want to get followers on Twitter? The best way that you could do that is make sure that you're bringing the news to your marketplace. That's the number one strategy. If I was in vintage electric guitar, I would have a vintage electric guitar tweet persona. So I would have I would separate it off Edward Dale, because there's no point mixing the message. You want to be focused. And I would be delivering awesome content. That would be my sole focus. So anytime there was any news in vintage electric guitar, and let's come back to crochet. Who knew the world of crochet could be so controversial? In fact, let me have a look at my crochet. Yep, look at this. Hot off the press. Unfortunately, crocheting... Actually, there's a funny part of crocheting is often when crocheting comes up in Google, it's part of hobbies of people whose obituaries are on. But I'm not sure how to swing that. But there are a bunch of... Yesterday we discussed the controversy of should you crochet in church. I could string that out over a number of weeks, that thing. But you absolutely want to... That's the sort of stuff that you want to bring to the whole table. That's what you want to do. And that's exactly this type of stuff that you want to focus on. And so to start with using Twitter for your niche is that you would have a Twitter character. And again, who does this brilliantly? Richard Merritt, the pen man. But he's more than the pen. See, what most people don't know. Yes, Richard makes the most amazing... I love it. I just keep it here, right? I always keep it here, close. Look at that. Love that. But Richard has two personas on Twitter. He has his marketing persona, because he's a killer marketer, just as if you didn't pick that up. But he's also, he's got his pen, he's got his pen character on Twitter, and he's got his marketing character on, not, you know what I mean by character, on Twitter as well. Very, very clever. And that's the way it's... My chubby's over here, actually. Hang on, here it is. Switchover says, don't mix business with pleasure on Twitter. Couldn't agree more. There is a very, very, very rare circumstance where you might want to do that. I do that, and I do it for a very specific reason, which is not probably a 30-day challenge deal question, but I'm one of the few people, and that sounds wanky. No, there is a very good reason for me doing the. I have to use both hands to hold that pen. Trust me. Did I mention how big my microphone was? Look at this microphone, Phil Mason. Look how big this microphone is. Check that. Everything's chubby in the Tubby Nerd household, don't you worry. Yes, Shannon, you've got it in one hit. It's bad. Sorry, I did this in prime time. Bro, I'm going to get... What is it, the FCC? I'm going to get a warning. Homeschoolers, what I just did then was wrong. All I was doing was patting a microphone. Nothing more, nothing less. There's any inferences that you derive from the fact that I was stroking my microphone are really, up to your own thing. And then really, it's not about me, it's about you. That the FCC should fine you, not me, if that makes sense. And all I can say is, hi kids, how you going? Alright, am I blushing? No, I don't think so. Yes, that's right. Moving on, thank you. Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. Alright, I think we'll move on into Q&A time. Yeah, switch over. I think we need a break to sort of clear out the whole thing. And kids, do you like violence? Don't stop. We're going to do that. I am going to fire up the. I realised that thanks to you guys with the incredible Skype trick. And again, let's say you're ready for this. If you want me to talk to you on Skype after the break, I think the best way, and hopefully Donald's still there. Donald will be first off the rank. Just send me a chat. So just chat me on Skype, and then I'll call you and bring you into the show. And I think that will work. Oh, and I noticed Pete Williams is going. There is a Melbourne meetup this Friday night. I am hoping that I might be able to get there later on. I'm not 100% sure because I am leaving home for 2 weeks effectively. I am on dad duty big time, but I am hoping that regardless of whether I'm there or not, there is a big Melbourne meetup coming your way. So check that out. Oh, and Alexander said they had an Austin meetup. God, I'd love to go to Austin. They had the Austin meetup, which is brilliant. So Pete's saying venue will be on the forum later this afternoon. Let me know and I will do that. The pretty boy of print, Brett Hodgson, will be there. Hopefully Eugene Ware will have got some sleep, and the master brains behind Market Samurai will be there. And it'll be brilliant. Alright, we'll be back. Let's cue the music. I just realised I could probably jam along with this, which could be frightening. Cue that off. Alright folks, speak soon.